I'm very pleased to invite President Higgins to formally launch this commemorative event.
Gwyddi Cwr yn geidal ys minlam a gwyta sgwal a Satrap Currachia. May I say at the very beginning, I'm very delighted to have been invited to have been here and to celebrate with you 40 years of a very important service. And I'm very glad that the founders and that those who assisted over the years have been mentioned. Is called unespecial Tisha, August Tradition, Gokta Winchamak, Gadisha, Kilura. Coolmine Therapeutic Community has a long and well established name and reputation for the service it has provided to those working to overcome a problem with drugs and alcohol in Dublin and beyond. And I'm very happy to be here as President of Ireland, Maruk Tronaherin, and to be able to congratulate you on that 40 years of service. May I thank Paul Conlon, the former CEO, and Pauline McKeown, the current CEO, for the kind invitation to be with you and to speak to you. And I also, as I have already said, been so pleased that Lord Rossmar is here as some of the founding members, and indeed my old dear friend Ivor Brown. Their contribution, their original decision is an extraordinary one. And I'm very happy to see that we have been joined by members of the Cabinet, Joe Burton, the Minister Joe Burton, and other public representatives. And I'm sure that they, when I speak, pay tribute to the work of Coolmine Therapeutic Community, I do so very much in their name as well. I think when it was established at the time, it was the only voluntary body concerned with the treatment of drug addiction in the Dublin area. I have very clear memories of that time. It had been just 4 years after I had just been appointed myself to teach sociology. And I remember having discussions with some of the people who were interested in addiction at the time. And it was at a very early stage. I think that of course, in the 1970s was followed by a dreadful, appalling, a significant increase in the use of heroin in the 1980s. And then, of course, the need for supports and facilities like Coolmine grew, and then in turn, that went on to the opening of a new residential facility near Navan, which could accommodate up to 100 individuals. And that was followed by 1989 by a residential facility for women at Ashley House. I very much want to say then it is important for us to recognise how significant Coolmine was and is as a leader in the field. I remember very clearly in the United States at that particular time, the difficulty there was, in fact, in constructing a proper study or appreciation of all of the social setting of drug addiction. Whereas, and as well as that, a varying amount of sympathy is how I would describe it, towards those who found themselves in the circumstances of addiction. And that need for an expanded understanding still remains. But it is the values of the Coolmine Therapeutic Community of dignity and respect, compassion, which is so important, of honesty, consistency and responsibility, and of safety and security, and of commitment to the quality of the provision of service. They are what are impressive in the programmes provided by Coolmine. As well as that, if you're there 40 years and consistently providing the service, you are doing so much more than, for example, that the vagaries of altruism would allow. Some people's concern and compassion, all those values, is very welcome at different ways and at different times. but to be consistently providing the service without discrimination is what is very important. The latest initiative, for example, shows as well how you are innovating all of the time. The opening of the Only Mother and Child Residential Treatment Service in Ashley House, which allows mothers of small children to participate in treatment and keep their children with them. I believe myself that we have a considerable way to go in understanding of drug addiction. In a way, we cannot, in fact, actually understand it fully until we have made far more advances in understanding our society. And it is not really by imitating, as it were, the remedies of other countries that we will eventually come to such a full understanding. But we have made progress, and the treatment and the understanding has evolved somewhat. We know much more now about effective medical and social responses to addiction. And that your program is holistic and provides not just medical supports, but programs including the talking therapies that address family relationships, self-image, community relationships, and re-entry into the work is evidence of this evolution. However, I am not, as it were, I'm very well aware of the long journey that we have to go. I addressed some of these issues when, as patron of the Irish College of Psychiatry, I spoke at their annual general meeting a few months ago. I spoke, for example, of the unnecessary decades it has taken for those who are working within the different therapies to be able to speak together and take full recognition of each other's contributions. That is a journey we have far from completed, but it is interesting, as well as I said, that a holistic approach is what characterises Coolmine. I welcome the fact that we're moving, however, slowly. I regret sometimes too slowly towards meeting all of these challenges. But my purpose in coming here this afternoon is in fact actually to give recognition to those who have been pioneers and those who have sustained the journey and those who have indeed been moved not just with compassion but with practical, professional, holistic, interdisciplinary care. All of these are positive and welcome developments. And of course, standing behind everything that you and I and others do is the debate that is there as to whether we want to enjoy the flourishing of a fully inclusive democratic society. It is true of not just Ireland, but of Europe, the world, North America, our total planet, that great inequalities in wealth in a society result in great inequalities in health. It is also true that the more equal in terms of provision societies are, the healthier their societies are. I have, in fact, also, from meeting many writers that I would know myself over the years who have, in fact, dealt with the issue themselves, in fact, come through processes of addiction, they have been able to tell me about their experience of how they became alienated from society. Evidence tells us it's there, uncontradicted, that reducing inequalities is essential if we are to meaningfully and in a sustained manner address the seedbed from which so much drug addiction comes. This is not to make a foolish analysis. It is rather like in so many other areas of mental health, the factors that explain the fluctuations in the rate will never fully explain the incidence in a particular case with which you and those the therapies you provide are so much well aware. But the research does show, incontrovertibly, that the health of a society is affected not so much by how wealthy the society is, but how equal it is. And I think evidence tells us that reducing inequalities is essential if we are to make the progress I speak of towards an inclusive, healthy, joyful society. But it isn't only the lives of individuals who are directly concerned that are changed by recovery from addiction. And therefore also the gratitude is due to you from all of those families and connections of people who are affected by addiction. It is the estimate roughly accepted now is that for every person directly affected by addiction, at least 8 other people's lives are affected. And in helping that person, you are helping all of those 8, and it's a multiplier that goes through the society. Addiction affects so many around the individual drug user, maybe partners, children, parents, grandparents, siblings, colleagues, and fellow students and friends. And all of these share in the successes that have been there from the Coolmine programs. So, may I congratulate each and every one of you who are coming out, who are graduating here today, those of you, and also speaking directly to those graduating from programs. May I say that I'm sure there are times when you felt the challenges you felt were overwhelming. And it's such a great, great new life to be able to have taken your life by, as it were, and shaken it and persevered in what you have accomplished. I think that, may I say, at this point, I say that may you have health and blessing forever, and that may you have the courage to sustain it. And may I thank you in advance for all the help you will give to other people. Coolmine espouses a continuum of care for treatment and rehabilitation, which recognises that those seeking support have multiple and complex needs and may require differing supports and responses from a range of services as they move through various stages of recovery. That is the life we have. That is the society that we are in. And it recognises, Coolmine does, the importance of the support of peers as well as professionals through the process. There are no greater. Aristotle said that the ethics of friendship make a greater demand than the ethics of justice. And it is true, to be a friend is a great calling. And it is very important to be a friend that moves past judgment and is able to be moved by compassion and care and deliver not only the words that are necessary at times, but also the silences and the patience. In addition to the supports offered during treatment, as well, I think the aftercare programs are very important, the relapse prevention programs, the patience of coming back from failure, career guidance schemes, a community employment scheme, housing, all of these are important in terms of the re-engagement with society. And the capacity to be able to face the contradictions of a society that hasn't solved its contradictions itself. So, through the Graduate Lifelong Learning Support Group, which is a peer-led group and I understand meets weekly, Coolmine continues to offer support and encouragement after the treatment program has ended. And through this support group, graduates are helped to maintain their recovery and work towards achieving their personal goals. The results are impressive. I was interested to read that last year 57 graduates of Coolmine moved on to further education. And I feel myself that they will be able to draw on their experiences to make even a greater use of that further education and training too. 20 gained community employment scheme places, 2 moved into full-time employment, and 7 found part-time employment or internships. And if I know some of you are here today, and there are also some people who are on current programs, program participants with us. I congratulate you, and I wish the latter well. I wish you and salute you for the daily decision you make to address drug addiction in your lives and to live creatively and to take hold of your own lives for yourself and others, and that you should seek to realise your endless possibilities as I have described them elsewhere. May I mar focal still concrete garlish and make it all around to finish. Coolmine has demonstrated a great and important capacity for change and deep commitment to taking evidence-based practice and honing it to its own needs. It has been prepared to engage in partnerships with other agencies, to cooperate with other service providers in order to ensure that those seeking support can avail of the services appropriate to their needs, whatever stage they are on the journey to recovery. Really, that is so important, that nobody need ever be alone. And an important example of this which I remember seeing and reading and talking about, was the Anliffe project, which provides a special pre-entry programme designed for homeless people to facilitate their entry into treatment services in Coolmine when they're ready to take that step. That is such a good project, and it is really one that reaches out in a very significant way. Another example is the Prison Outreach Service, which support those working to remain drug-free in the main prisons in Dublin, as well as the Midlands Prison and Cork Prison. I have so far visited 4 prisons, and I want to say how important that is. I have also been aware from my time as a public representative of people, for example, who went into prison illiterate and came out drug dependent. And really, all those programs in prisons, and particularly that prison outreach service in which you're involved, is so important. These multi-agency partnerships, which gain strength from the experience and expertise of the different partners who come with different contributions to make, are very effective ways of supporting those with complex needs. The challenge is to be able to work together and provide assistance in a way that is yet of high quality, but yet at the same time appropriate for the moment in the person's life that provides access and being able to take advantage of that. So today is a day of great celebration, 40 years of Coolmine Therapeutic Community, of delivering far-reaching services, enabling those caught in the net to escape, to give hope and reassurance and soothingness to their families. And it also marks the launching of a 40th anniversary commemorative book entitled 40 Years Helping People Find Their Way Home, designed by Malcolm McClancy, and including as it does a collection of stories from past Coolmine participants, good people who have shared their story. And I'm sure that it will provide inspiration to those currently struggling with a problem drug or alcohol use. And few families in Ireland are not familiar with such circumstance. To finish, may I say the successes here at Coolmine reflect dedication, commitment, hard work for many people working with different talents to help vulnerable people. It's also a great example of the huge contribution made by the voluntary sector to the day-to-day delivery of the National Drug Strategy to which reference has been made. And may I wish all of you here, in this community, Coolmine Therapeutic Community, success, Ráchas Beannacht, in your continued delivery of supports to the most marginalised in society in many cases. Is mín lam ma cogordagus a gwael, as an diabra ta carig gricagif le dahad flin gos coflininis, agus gyn ga Ráchas Beannacht dare, an agrirt eachta sha das na blianta taro. Gar mira mahagi te.